Okay, I think we can start. A very good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to this first information webinar on the BlueActionAA community-led pilot action call. We still have one or two attendees joining, but hopefully most people who have registered have now joined the session. So you are very welcome. My name is Niall McDonough. I'm from the Marine Institute in Galway. We are coordinating the BlueActionAA overall project along with 7 partners who we will introduce as part of the introductory slides for the session this morning. And this is the first of what will probably be 6 informational webinars linked to this call. So the call obviously it has been opened now since November and will be open until the end of May. And it's important now for us to provide information to interested applicants for the call on all aspects of the call. So the first 2 of these webinars will very much focus on the call context, the objectives, the modalities of the funding modalities and rules, the technical assistance aspects that we're providing, etc. And then so that will be the first 2 webinars, and then the remaining 4 will focus on the thematic aspects, so linked to the mission, the EU mission priority areas. So all of the information will be available on the BlueAction website. We will provide all the links and access details throughout the course of the presentation this morning. So we plan to speak between a number of partners who are involved in the BlueActionAA to provide you with a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation with all the information we hope you will need for preparing a high quality proposal under the community-led action call. We think we will probably be speaking for about but somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes. We're not exactly sure how long it will last. And the session this morning, as you know, is timed for 90 minutes. So hopefully there's more than enough time for Q&A. You will see, for those of you who are joining on the Zoom platform, there is a Q&A box available. Please do enter any questions you have into the Q&A box. We will be monitoring those questions. If we can answer them already with a text response in the Q&A box during the presentation, we'll do that, and if not, we'll respond verbally in any case during the Q&A after the presentation. So please do enter your questions there. There are 2 key documents we'll be referring to, also the guidelines for the call and the frequently asked questions, the FAQs document. Those documents are available on the website, albeit there will be a slightly updated version uploaded later today, and we'll touch on that again. Okay, I think that's all of the kind of housekeeping and introductory points. I see a lot of nice messages coming through on the chat, so great to see we have people from a very broad range of areas, and as I said, you're all very welcome. So I think we can move to the second slide. So I just want to introduce then the team that will be that is involved in putting together the webinar. So this is quite a good section of the partners of the BlueActionAA project. So as I've already introduced myself from the Marine Institute, my colleague Sinead Niahota is also on the calls this morning and supporting. Then from the European Science Foundation, we have Mariette van der Merch and Emmanuel Detsis and Helene Schaffner. From the University of Aveiro, we have Dionisia Langiero. And from NIVA, we have Sebastian Kopf. And finally, from the Air Centre in Portugal, we have Patricia Kwan and Alessandro Colombo. So those are the colleagues and the partners in the BlueActionAA consortium who we are working together to prepare this and to provide this webinar this morning and subsequent webinars. And you will hear from a selection of of us in terms of the actual presentation. Next slide, please. So this is the agenda for this morning. We will introduce BlueActionAA and link to that the mission more broadly. Then we will move on to introduce the call itself and the details of call, the objectives and the process. We will speak to you also about the technical support facility that we're providing for successful projects, the application and evaluation process, how funds will be distributed and payments and milestones. Then we'll provide you with key dates in terms of timelines, call deadlines, etc. And then we'll have our Q&A. So that's the agenda for this morning. Next slide, please. So we'd like to just start with some slides on the EU missions and the EU mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters. So we're grateful to the colleagues in the European Commission, DG Research and Innovation, for providing these slides. These are official EC slides on the mission. And I think this is probably important because a number of those of you who are joining the session this morning will no doubt be very familiar with the European missions and the mission Restore Ocean and Waters. But actually, we're hoping that some of you will be new to this, because this call, this community-led call, is really reaching out to a broader constituency of community actors and stakeholders who may not be actually that familiar with EU missions, so it is actually our hope that this is quite new to some of you. That means we're reaching an audience that we might not normally be reaching in terms of mission implementation. So what are the missions? The EU missions are large-scale initiatives under Horizon Europe, setting clear time-bound goals that drive focused efforts towards some of the greatest societal challenges. There are 5 missions supported under Horizon Europe, one on cancer, one on climate neutral and smart cities, one on adaptation to climate change, one on soils, a soil deal for Europe, and then the mission we're dealing with in BlueActionAA, which is Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030. So this is one of 5 missions. And what the missions do is they bring together researchers, policymakers, citizens and stakeholders to pool the necessary resources and expertise to drive innovation and deliver concrete solutions for societal benefit. So within the Restore Ocean and Waters by 2030, there are 3 high-level policy objectives that have been set for this mission. So these are the kind of targets that the mission is trying to achieve. They are protect and restore marine ecosystems, marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity, prevent and eliminate pollution of our oceans, seas and waters, and make the blue economy carbon neutral and circular. And you can see on this slide then, linked to each of those policy objectives, there are specific targets or KPIs which are measurable, or at least, although measuring some of these things is quite difficult, but nonetheless they're quite specific and focused and ambitious. There's no question that this is a highly ambitious mission. And linked to the 3 policy objectives, there are 2 enablers, and the enablers are digital ocean and waters knowledge system. So that's really about the marine and freshwater system data, environmental data and data observing and data processing and management systems that we have that enable us to understand what is happening in those systems and how the mission has been implemented. And that includes major initiatives like the digital twin of the ocean. And then the second enabler is public mobilization and engagement. And that's really important because across all of the missions, one of the key let's say supporting mechanisms is citizen and public engagement. That's a really high priority for implementation of the missions. Next slide, please. So one of the things mechanisms also that's being used to implement the mission is a regional or basin approach. So there are obviously different specificities and challenges and opportunities linked to the different geographical areas around Europe. It is not always a one-size-fits all. And what has been done from the beginning of the mission Ocean and Waters was to establish mission lighthouses. So these are sites that to pilot and demonstrate and develop and deploy mission activities across the EU seas and river basins. And there are 4 mission lighthouses, one in the Baltic and North Sea, one in the Mediterranean Sea Basin, a freshwater or inland water lighthouse focused on the Danube River Basin and the Atlantic and Arctic coast. So we are very much, obviously, through the BlueActionAA project focused on the Atlantic and Arctic coast. But there are sister projects now in place for all of these lighthouse areas, and we're working closely with those projects that are also launching similar calls, cascade funding calls, community-led and transition agenda calls in those different sea basin and river basin regions. So as I said, we're in the Atlantic and Arctic region. Next slide, please. Just to note that the mission really has been implemented under Horizon Europe in 2 major phases. Phase 1, which ran from 2022 to 2025, was very much in the piloting phase, really supporting actions that were at the pilot scale, test and demonstration type actions across those lighthouse areas. And there was some restriction in place in phase 1, whereby, if you recall, the 3 high-level objectives of the mission, protecting and restoring ecosystems, reducing or towards zero pollution, and climate neutral sustainable blue economy, only one of those objectives was being tested and demonstrated and piloted in each of the areas. So for example, in the Atlantic and Arctic, we were focused specifically during the piloting phase only on the objective protect and restore ecosystems, marine and freshwater ecosystems. Now under phase 2, that's changed. I'll come to that in the next slide. But that's changed in that all of the 3 high-level mission objectives are now in play in all of the lighthouse areas. So BlueActionAA now covers all of these, and that's a really important development. Phase 2, as I said, is now deployment. That runs from 2026 to 2030, and this is really focusing on scaling up and replicating solutions that were piloted perhaps during phase 1 across all the lighthouse areas, with all 3 mission objectives in scope. Horizon Europe is then a mechanism for supporting a whole range of research and innovation actions that are targeted at implementing the mission. These include, as I said, research and innovation actions, but also various coordination and support actions, which all form together a portfolio of projects that are aiming to make progress towards mission implementation. And of course, BlueActionAA is one of those actions. Next slide, please. I've kind of covered this a little bit already. We've mentioned the mission lighthouses, and it's just it's a map to kind of give a little bit more visual representation of that, and where we sit. Of course, in BlueActionAA is in the Atlantic and Arctic, which of course is a very, very substantial ocean area, and that includes, of course, the inland and freshwater systems of the territories around the Atlantic and Arctic basins as well. Next slide, please. So just to zoom back into the project BlueActionAA, which is the cascade funding project under which then we are making these calls and the funding available for the community-led actions. Really, this is now about putting local communities at the heart of restoring ocean and waters, and sometimes a lot of the mission activities can be nested in a very experienced community of researchers who are very active in this space, and those colleagues and those researchers will continue to be really important in terms of finding solutions But the mission to be now that we're into the deployment phase really needs to involve very much a broader set of actors, and solutions need to be implemented very much at the local level as well, and that's why we really place an emphasis on engaging and involving under BlueActionAA community actors, and we'll give you the list of what we mean by community actors as we go through the presentation. But this is really about supporting communities to take ambitious action to protect and revive freshwater systems and to deliver the mission objectives within the Atlantic and Arctic region. So BlueActionAA, sorry, just to complete this one, we really aim to provide measurable progress towards the mission's objectives to help the EU member states in particular to meet legislative requirements and targets that have been set in biodiversity and pollution, in blue economy, to help make progress towards those those legislative commitments, to reach increased engagement and mobilize resources from communities across the Arctic and Atlantic area, and really to enhance the readiness at local level to deploy and scale innovative restoration solutions. Sorry, next slide please now. So I've introduced in an earlier slide just the team of colleagues who are involved in the webinar this morning. Just to remind then that this is the full consortium for the BlueActionAA project. We're made up of 8 partners listed here: the Air Centre, the Marine Institute, European Science Foundation. Air Centre is based in Portugal, I should say. Marine Institute based in Ireland. ESF based in France. Sintef in Norway. Plocan is Spanish with a physical location in the Canary Islands, and NIVA based in Norway, University of Aveiro in Portugal, and the University of Southern Denmark. So that's the partnership. Many of those organizations are very internationally focused as well, but these are the partners who are delivering the Blue Action project. Next slide please. And finally, just to then zoom in on the people who will be actually presenting this morning. So I'll Joel, and then Sebastian from NIVA will also present on the technical assistance aspects. So with that, as I said, I'll conclude. Oh yeah, just to before I do, to point out the 2 email addresses that are on this slide as well. These will be shown at the end of the presentation also, but there are 2 separate email addresses. The info@blueactionaa.eu email address is for general questions you have in relation to the call and in relation to the topic, eligibility, etc. And then the technical.support@blueactionaa.eu email is specifically for the technical questions concerning the submission platform or the Cascade call grant process. So as I said, we'll revert to those email addresses, but all of these aspects are actually being covered in any case in the webinar, and you have an opportunity in the Q&A as well to ask questions. So with that, I will hand over to my colleague from ESF, Mariette, who will now introduce the call itself. Mariette, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Niall. So let me start directly. So the BlueActionAA community-led pilot action is focused on actions led by communities. This call aims to mobilize and engage regional and local communities, engage in collective collaboration for innovation and uptake across the Atlantic and Arctic regions. The main purpose of this call is to make progress toward the 3 main objectives of the EU mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030 that were presented by Niall earlier, with a focus on long-term impact. BlueActionAA will provide financial aid through cascading grants, as well as technical assistance to ensure effective and sustainable ecosystem restoration actions. We aim to distribute a total of 7 million euros in the form of lump sum grants. Each project will be funded in a range between 200,000 and 2 million euros, and they're expected to last between 6 and 24 months. The duration is up to the applicants to decide. It's depending on their project role plan and expected results. And we will be funding a minimum of 5 projects through this call. About the eligibility. So first, about the eligible countries, applicants that are eligible should be legally established or registered in any of the following countries. The member states of the European Union, including their autonomous regions, the overseas countries and territories linked to the member states, and Horizon Europe associated countries at the time when BlueActionAA grant entered into force, which is September 2025. While no restriction applies here, project coordinators, that we also call lead applicants, are particularly encouraged to be from the Atlantic and Arctic Basin countries and territories, meaning France, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, Norway, Iceland, Greenland, Faroe Islands, and Canada. Now, concerning the eligible entities, the applicants must be from the following target groups: regional and local public authorities, non-governmental organizations, foundation, professional associations, civil society and citizen associations, SMEs and large enterprises, cultural and educational organizations, and finally, relevant EU research infrastructure, research organization, and academia. The consortium composition, so we ask for a minimum of 2 entities. It's not to apply as a single entity for this call. And we ask for a maximum of 12 entities. At least 2 partners must be from the different target groups that I just mentioned before. And you need to have an established link with the local and regional communities that the project is associated with. About the expected outcomes, the main focus of this call is to ensure long-term sustainability and impact of the project. This will be the most important criterion in the evaluation procedure. Project will have to contribute to the mission ocean waters objective that were mentioned by Niall earlier, and which are the following: protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity, prevent and eliminate pollution of our oceans, seas and waters, and make the sustainable blue economy carbon neutral and circular. So the application should focus on implementing innovative solutions, and here you have some examples. I won't list all of them, but you will have the presentation available after this webinar, but digital innovation, monitoring and restoration, freshwater observation, etc., etc. About the multiple submission funding limits, multiple submissions are allowed, but each entity can only be funded once in the frame of the BlueActionAA program, so we'll be opening other calls, so it is important to note that you can only be funded once. So when an entity participates and is approved for funding in more than one application under the BlueActionAA calls, then these applicants will be required to choose the application under which they wish to receive funding. So the multiple application must be taken with great care, because even if this multiplies your chances of funding, you might penalize the whole consortium. In addition, the funding limit per entity is 500,000 euros. This applies to each beneficiary in the consortium rather than the consortium as a whole. What does it mean concretely? It means that if you request 2 million for your project, you must have at least 4 entities in your consortium asking for 500,000 euros maximum. We take the opportunity of this presentation to invite you to fill the expression of interest. So this expression of interest aims to gather preliminary interest from potential applicants for the call. This will be used to develop information days during the call period. So the call is already open, but it will be running until May 2026. So we really encourage you to fill this expression of interest. The link is on the slide, but this will also be shared on the chat. So please take the time to fill it. And now I will give the floor to my colleague Sebastian from NIVA to talk about the technical support.
Thank you very much, Mariette. My name is Sebastian, and I will walk you through the technical assistance component of BlueActionAA. BlueActionAA provides targeted technical assistance to projects that are selected for funding. So let me convey the most important message right away. BlueAction wants you and each one of you to succeed. In order to do so, we provide you with the opportunity for needs-based, and that is important, for needs-based technical assistance. Thus, this is not just any generic assistance, but rather it is directly based on the needs you identify yourself. We don't prescribe those needs, but you tell us what you need. The second important thing is that this assistance is not necessarily only technical in a very narrow sense. Rather, it focuses on guidance, on advice, on access to relevant expertise and networks. Technical assistant, for example, can support you in areas such as monitoring methods, in stakeholder engagement, in project design, or impact and cost-benefit considerations. The aim is to help you succeed with your projects so that your projects deliver the objectives while aligning with the wider BlueActionAA vision and the wider mission ocean and waters. Next slide, please, Mariette. Thank you. So now you might ask yourself, and us as a consortium, this is great, needs-based technical assistance. Perfect. But how do we let you know about what we need? I am glad you ask. Applicants to this call, meaning you, hopefully, must describe expected challenges and identify any expertise gaps they might have in their consortium as part of their application. You are even further much encouraged to already reach out to us now and long before you hand in the final application. The earlier, the better. Those gaps that you identify, those gaps that you outline can be addressed in 3 different ways, clearly laid out in the call guidelines available online. Firstly, by working with external experts. Secondly, by requesting limited and targeted support from the BlueActionAA consortium. Or thirdly, by joining the Technical Assistance Mentoring Program. As this technical assistance is needs-based, the concrete final support packages are agreed through dialogue between the BlueActionAA consortium and your consortium. This is done before the contract is signed, before your contract is signed, and depends on the number, the scope, and the complexity of your funded project. At any point, please don't hesitate to reach out to us for any questions you might have about technical assistance by using the email address you see on the screen right now, info@blueactionaa.eu. With that, back to you, Mariette, from the European Science Foundation.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. So now we'll just talk about the application and evaluation process. This will be very practical. This is how to apply. So we have an open call platform and there's 2 links available. The first link is to create your profile on our platform, and the second is just to connect once you have a profile on our platform. All the open call documents are available on our website, BlueActionAA.eu. So this is the website, and then if you want to have any information about the Blue Action calls, you can click on our calls, and then if you select the community-led action call, you scroll down and you will arrive to this window about apply here, and then you see the 2 links that I just mentioned. So the first link brings you to this window, which is the platform registration. As you can see, these are very basic information of the coordinator information, like a title, first name, surname, email, and country. And once you fill those information, you will be able to create your profile on our platform as an applicant. Then once you have created your profile, you will reach this window, which is the usual login window to access the applicant portal. So this is how the applicant portal is looking like. So we have our external open calls. So ESF is not only working with the BlueActionAA project, so that's why you see that there are several calls on the screen, but I invite you to, find your call, which is BlueActionAA, and then you click on apply. An important thing to know is that if you click on apply, you will just create a draft proposal, and then you will be able to log out and log in again to fill your proposal. You're not forced to submit it immediately once you've created it. So you just click on apply, you create a draft proposal, and then anytime you feel anything in your draft, you save your draft platform and go back again. The evaluation process, so we'll start with an eligibility check. We will be checking that you're from an eligible country, from an eligible entity, and that you're respecting the rules that we mentioned before. Then once the eligibility check will be done, there will be a pre-assessment done by external evaluators based on 3 criteria: excellence, impact, and implementation. Once they will be done with those pre-assessments, we'll run some panel meetings with those same experts, and they will go with a final ranking that will be submitted to the BlueActionAA panel. And they will produce a consensus report, and this is this report that will be sent to the applicants together with the results on end of September 2026. If you're selected, how is the distribution of the funds and the payment milestones done? The grant is awarded to the project coordinator only, which is something very important to have in mind. And this is provided as a lump sum scheme, meaning that the grant payments are linked to completion of milestones and deliverables and not actual cost evidence. So there will be no financial reporting requested from us. You will just receive the money depending on the completion of milestones. So here they are. For example, if you're asking for a 6-month project, you will receive 20% of the funding at the end of month 1, once you deliver the implementation plan and KPI definition and you participate to the initiation meeting. And then you will receive the rest of the funding at the end of month 6 with the final review and the impact analysis. And so we have 12 months project, 18 months project, and 24 months projects. And you see that of course, for longer projects, you have more milestones and recuperate the money in several steps. The timeline now, so the call is open since end of November 2025 and will close on the 29th of May at 2. Meaning that this will be closed at 2, so you're not supposed to submit your project at 3. Please anticipate. I know that people used to submit very last minute, and sometimes you have just technical issues, internet issues, connection, you're mistaken with the hour, so please don't do that. Please submit before the deadline, ideally, to avoid those last minute complications. Then the evaluation I mentioned, so the pre-assessment and the panels will be from June 2026 to the end of September, and then we'll be communicating the results on the 30th of September. Then we'll start with the selected applicants. We'll start with a sub-grant agreement signing process, and you will have until the end of October to sign it. And it will start from November 2026. Actually, this will be early November. We plan to start the project on the 2nd of November 2026. And so there will be a kickoff meeting on that day to remind you the rules, etc., answer any doubts you may have. So this kickoff meeting will be actually compulsory you will have to participate to this meeting as part of one of your milestones. And now we're done with the presentation. So we open the floor for questions. Please do not hesitate. We're here to answer them.
Thank you, Mariette. Just to note, we've received then a number of questions on the Q&A. Most of these are being answered with typed answers while you were speaking and while the presentation was running. So we hope that the participants who've logged those questions are happy with those answers that we've given, that they're clear. Then there are 2 open questions now. We also have a hand up. I'm not sure, Patricia, if we can open the floor to the participants, or Alessandro. Don't think that's possible. So we have a question. First, eligibility check. Can you please provide more details on this phase? What do we as applicants need to prepare, and by when do we need to submit it? So I think, Mariette, you covered a little bit of this in the presentation, but if you could add just to remind on those points.
Yes, so actually the eligibility check, you have nothing to do. This is on our side. So once you have submitted your application, then we have a few days where we're checking the eligibility. It's just making sure that you're respecting the rules, that you're from the eligible countries, entities, that your consortium is at least of 2 participants, maximum 12, etc., etc. So you have nothing to do on your side. Your work is done once you've submitted your application. It's on us.
So, just if I may ask, Francisco Royano, who has raised his hand. Francisco, if you can please put a question in the Q&A. That's the only way we can actually deal with the questions. We can't, just because of the webinar platform we're using, we can't take questions directly from participants. Thank you. So then we have the other questions. Let's see, open 3. Yeah, next one from Michael Officer. Thank you for your great introduction. Following up on David's question, are European-wide consortia with local actors encouraged more than regional consortia within one eligible country? So, Michael, there are, some colleagues may add to this, but there is no hard rule on this. The general approach we are looking for is that the activities and impacts are focused on the Atlantic and Arctic basin area. So that includes the countries around that area, the seas, and transitional and inland waters of that area. In terms of consortia, it's very open in terms of who can participate. The specifics are included in both the guidelines and the frequently asked questions document, but essentially it includes the member states of the European, including their outermost regions, the overseas countries and territories linked to the member states, and countries that are associated, have associated agreements to Horizon Europe as at 1st of September. And all of those lists are included as footnotes. So essentially what that means is, yes, you can have European-wide consortia participating in a project. You can have partners from any of those areas, EU member states, associated countries. Technically, that means you could have a partner from New Zealand, for example. But the impact and the focus of the activity should be in the Atlantic and Arctic area. So you can bring in expertise, for example, if it helps to address a particular challenge from outside the area by including a partner from a broader geographical range. But as I say, the impact is really focused on the Atlantic and Arctic area. So I hope that answers the question. But you must have a local actor. You must have at least one local actor engaged in a project. So I think that's really critical. So the next question, can a project like this research institute 500,000 to design the actions that will be implemented, plus city council 500 is spent on entrepreneur to build a design thing? So the rules are that basically that an applicant, any applicant under this call, can receive up to 500,000 euro. Obviously, the expenditure has to be justified in terms of meeting the objectives of the call, but in principle, then you can have 2 partners within the same project receiving that amount, up to 500,000 euros. Very important to note, however, that the project, the applicants can only receive grant once under BlueActionAA. So if you receive grant under one project, you cannot receive grant under another project. You cannot be funded under another project, even if you have participated in different projects. Can I check in with my ESF colleagues if that's sufficient? Is there anything I'm missing on those answers?
I think it's fine.
All good, okay. Next one, next one is, I assume Denmark is eligible country for leading an application. Yes, Denmark is eligible. Just clarification on this, and this is important. The guidelines and FAQs that are currently on the website are due to be updated later today, and the specific aspect which will be updated is the eligible countries section, where we have made a slight change to be more inclusive. And it, just to be clear in terms of this question, so it might not suggest currently that Denmark is eligible, but actually I think it does. But in any case, Denmark is eligible for leading an application. Full stop. And simple as that. Yeah. So next question, should the expected impact be achieved during the project or could it be achieved afterwards? So we are looking for long-term impact through this program. I would seek sort of a little bit of input from colleagues on this one. It depends, I would say, on the project itself and on what you are trying to achieve. I would imagine that, you know, that there are projects that could be proposed where the activity is really scaling a community-led action that may have impacts beyond the duration of the project, because the duration of some of these projects are quite short. So I think so long as you can demonstrate in your application that the activity will work towards generating a longer term impact which may be achieved after the project, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
is that correct? Yeah, please, Maria. Yes.
You will have to define KPIs at the beginning of the project. So of course we are seeking for a long-term impact. So if you are having a 6 months project, we cannot call this long-term, but still you will have to define some KPIs that you will have to deliver by the end of the project, and also you will have to deliver an impact analysis. So if we understand that if you have a very long-term impact, then you cannot deliver everything on impact analysis, but at least you will have to deliver this as a milestones at the end of the project.
Thanks, Mariette. Okay, next question. Given that each legal entity can only be funded once under BAA, is there a mechanism that allows institutional managers to be informed when their institution is included in a proposal? So from my reflections, we not through the call, not through the project, not through BlueActionAA. I think this has to be managed within an institution, and we do recognize, for example, large institutions like universities which may wish to participate. This is a challenge with this call. We are restricted by the financial support to third parties rules under Horizon Europe. So, for example, if you have a university where there is a researcher in one laboratory preparing a proposal and a researcher in another department preparing a proposal, I would encourage you to somehow work through your research office to understand if there are multiple proposals. That would be my initial response, but again, I will refer to my colleagues to see if they can add anything on that. My understanding is probably it's not something we can manage, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Okay, Neil, thank you. I can take this a little bit. So we are not going to be doing anything while you are submitting, but once we have proposals and we see that some proposals include the same partner, we will reach out to you, but we will contact the coordinators because that's the contact point we have. And we may have to come to a discussion that you have to select the project. So the answer is not yes, but not no. So there is not a mechanism that will be notifying you or your your institutional managers whether there are multiple BAA proposals. But that will come later during the evaluation if we see that we have proposals from the same institution, because as Neil mentioned, we are very constrained on our funding mechanism.
Great, thanks, Emmanuel. Okay, next question. Are Irish Sea regions eligible, i.e. devolved UK nations, Wales, Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland? So the answer is yes. These so UK is is an associated country to Horizon Europe, and many of the river basins, etc., drain into the Irish Sea, etc. So so Irish Sea regions are eligible. Is the answer to that question. What percentage of grant covers eligible costs? So again, I will ask my ESF colleagues maybe to take this one.
I can make a try. I'm not sure I understand exactly, but my answer would be it can be 100%, in the sense that you can take all the funding from us to do the project. If you can provide co-funding or find other sources of funding, that is considered a plus, because in theory that will increase the impact. So the answer is, from 100% to less than 100% of the project. You are not expected to provide self-financing, but if you can show that you have a co-funding, that is a plus on the evaluation.
If I might add one thing, in applications overall, it's often direct costs, indirect costs. The indirect costs in this call must be included in the overall budget and are maximum 25% of the direct costs.
Great, thanks guys. Yeah. Okay, next question. What format will the full proposals take? Number of pages? Again, Emmanuel and Mariette, if you could respond on that one.
So on the application call website, you have first a part where you indicate a few information like the name of the entities, the coordinator, contact detail, etc., and summary of the project, and then you have the proposal template itself. For this, you have an excellence section, an impact section, and implementation section. In each of the sections, you have several questions, and all of them are maximum 300 words. So I invite you to, I think the proposal template is available on the website, and if not, you just can create an application on our platform, and then you can download the proposal templates, but it will be limited by definition, because there's a maximum of 300 words per question.
The template is available, Mariette, on the
template
website.
Is available on the website. Thank you, Alison.
Great, thanks. Can you repeat the last point about direct costs, please? So just to... Yeah, go ahead.
I can do that.
Go ahead.
I was already starting to type the answer in that. Budgets normally include direct and indirect costs. The indirect costs are cannot be 50% of the direct costs, 100% of the direct costs, but are maxed at 25%. So when you make your overall budget, please ensure that you include indirect costs. An example for this is costs for office, for paper, for printers, for computers. All of this, generally speaking, on a broad range, are normally considered indirect costs. There might be some exceptions, but those indirect costs must be figured into the overall budget, which is maxed at 2 million overall. So part of this is indirect costs, which can be maximum 25% of the direct costs.
Great, thanks, Sebastian. Hopefully that is very clear. Let's see what format we've answered that one. The other questions I think have all been answered. Let's see now, there's one new message coming through. Have all been answered by typing with typed answers from colleagues in the consortium. So hopefully they are all good. And okay, we have another open one. What format? Oh no, that's still open. Yeah. Okay. If there are no more questions on the...
There is one now, Neil.
Here's one now. We hope to have multiple regional community groups around the Irish Sea. Can a university be the lead applicant, project coordinator on behalf of the community groups? Yes. The university can be a lead applicant, but bear in mind, can only be funded once. So if the university wishes to participate in more than one application, and assuming those applications are for different projects, the university can only receive funding once, can only receive grant once. That's just the rules we've been that we have to apply for financial support to third parties. So I hope that answers the question, and anyone wishes to add, please do.
No, I think this is clear, but I would like to answer a question that I saw in the chat, not on the Q&A. Mariette answered that we plan to fund at least 5 projects, and the question was, if you have 7 million euro total, how many projects are you aiming, like 4 or 5? Actually, we would like to encourage small projects as well. We don't have any rules on the size of the projects, but we understand that some consortia may not be able to handle a very big project. It is therefore quite acceptable that smaller projects, the minimum amount is 200,000 euro, are submitted, and we will view during the evaluation of these projects and the impact they propose according to the budget. So obviously a smaller project will maybe have a smaller impact than a bigger project, but we will take this into account.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Okay, and then we have a question. Do you receive applications for projects for a project that has already started but needs funding to continue long term? So I think that the first point to make here is that we will not be funding projects that are being funded through another funding mechanism. There is no capacity for double funding. If that project is being funded through another mechanism, we won't double fund. However, if there is a community action which has made initial progress, and it's the funding for that initial activity has completed, and there is an application then to perhaps move that forward and make further progress, then I think that's eligible. Then I would say that's eligible. That's fine. But just be careful. We can't double fund a project that is already receiving funding for the same project from another funding source. Again, please, colleagues, if there's any further let's say nuance on that response, do speak up. Thanks.
No, I agree with what you said. I'm just mentioning what Emmanuel just answered on the chat about if the institutions that are part of the BlueActionAA consortium can participate, and the answer is no, we are not eligible to submit any application for this call.
Yep, okay, good. So I see no further questions. So just to remind that we will be posting the new updated versions of the FAQs and the guidelines later this afternoon. So and it's just around the eligible countries. There has been some updates there. So just to remind you of that. So if there are no further questions, Mariette, I think we can just show the slides and just to give the final details. So, as you recall from earlier in the presentation, we gave details of the 2 email addresses that you can use if you have questions that you wish to pose in relation to the community-led call. So the technical support is the top one on the screen, and that's for technical questions concerning the submission platform and the Cascade Call grant process. And generally our colleagues in ESF who are managing that whole process are monitoring that mail address and will respond to any of those technical questions. And then the general help desk email address for more general queries is info@blueactionaa.eu, and that's for generally more questions around, the scope of a type of activity, scope of calls, etc., or any other general question that falls outside of just a very specific funding platform technical support. Okay.
Okay, Neil, another question came in the chat.
Yep.
It says, if you don't accept double funding, how is that compatible with co-funding? Double funding is when we will fund the same work twice. For example, you receive money from us and you receive money from the one of the sister projects to do the same work. So this is clearly not allowed. Co-funding is when a project receives money from us to do the project, and there is an extra budget coming into the project, let's say from the government of the region. So essentially the project has a bigger budget because there is another source of funding. So that's the difference. So double funding means that you take money from two sources to do the same work. And it is basically you are paid twice to do the same thing, whereas co-funded is there are two different budgets that are combined for you to do the work once. I hope that makes sense.
Maybe I can make one further clarification there. For the co-funding, you don't fund the same work twice, but you expand the work, and therefore not the same action is funded and not the same concrete activity is funded twice, but you have an additional activity that is funded by the co-funding part, which is then the difference between double funding and co-funding. For any questions, as Neil just said, reach out to us at any point in time. Back to you, Neil.
Great, thanks. Thanks, guys. Okay, I think that's okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A. They're all answered. So in that case, we've reached the end of the webinar. I hope that you found it. We've had quite a large number of attendees, over 70, which is really, really, really good. And of course, just to remind you, there will be a second webinar largely focused on this similar aspects. We will probably evolve that a little bit because just on the basis of questions that are coming in so that we know where the queries are coming from the community. But it will be largely a similar webinar to this one. And then we will have 4 subsequent webinars which focus on the thematic aspects of the call. So one on marine ecosystem restoration, one on freshwater ecosystem restoration, one on sustainable blue economy, climate neutral blue economy, and one on zero pollution. So that's when you can get into kind of more thematic aspects. So I think that's a fairly comprehensive support range of kind of information sessions to enable you to put together a high quality application. The second thing to say is we did record the webinar today, and it is available on our YouTube channel. So if you it's youtube.com/BlueActionAA. So please just search for BlueActionAA on YouTube, and you will find the recording of today's session for anyone who missed it. And please pass on to any colleagues that would like to view that again. Our website, the QR code on the screen brings you to our website. All of the information that you need is there. The email addresses for queries, the access to the ESF portal for submitting a proposal, the guidelines, the FAQs, and various support documents, information and webinars, all available on the website. So please do check into the website for all of that information, and do follow us on our social media channels, which are listed here: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Do please follow us on those platforms. So with that, I would like to thank very sincerely all the colleagues from the BlueActionAA consortium who have been who've done excellent work in preparing for this webinar, and our colleagues in particular in the Air Centre who are hosting us on the Zoom platform this morning. I think we've had technically a very smooth ride, which is fantastic. It doesn't always happen that way. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you who have joined to listen to the webinar this morning. The success of this whole program will depend on the participation and enthusiasm of the community out there who are interested in putting together proposals for the Blue Action Call. We do also have a transition a transition agenda call, which is a separate call. Again, smaller grants for preparing transition agendas. Please look for details on the website and for webinars that will, information sessions that will be run in association to that call as well. And then with that, then I will close the webinar. So thanks again, and best of luck with your applications. Please do contact us if you have any queries through the emails, and we'll close the webinar for now. Thanks and bye-bye.
Thank you.